Hi, I'm Jeannie, author of Bun the Helper, and its companion guide, The Family Plan. And if you feel so called, feel free to hop over to our website, littlebunandfriends.com, and you can download the family plan for free. But what I wanted to talk to you about today, and I'm guessing that if you found us, that there's no coincidences. Here we talk about chronic illness, and we break it down into simpler language so we can really translate that to little ears, because kids don't understand big language, adult language. They don't understand big diagnoses: cancer, lupus, ALS, Crohn's, any other chronic illness, MS. Oh, God forbid, you can keep going and going and going. So sadly. However, the reality is many of us are living with many of these diseases, and we have kids. So this channel was started because I found when I was raising my child, there wasn't a whole lot out there on how to talk to a little hurt using gentle, kind, loving, warm, wrapping language. And I also found that, with all due respect to doctors, that they weren't that helpful. And I realized over the years, after numerous conversations with my child, that we really needed to do something to change that. Because hearing those big labels, those container names, I'm just going to call them containers because it's one way to kind of lump all this chronic illness together and all these diagnoses together. They don't need to hear about container names. They don't need to hear about cancer or ALS or MS. Yes, we do, absolutely, because we're living with it. And as you know, chronic illness is not in a vacuum. Everybody in the family, no matter how family is defined for you, or whoever the loved one is that is living with chronic illness, you need that diagnosis to figure out what's going on and figure out your next steps. However, that little one hears this name that they can't attach to anything, and when they can't put meaning to something, then it gets in their brain and spirals out of control in not only their brain, but their nervous system. And their little central nervous system and their parasympathetic nervous system just goes haywire, and that's where anxiety comes in. And that's where you'll see, perhaps acting out in school or nightmares, a lot of either despondent or overreactive behavior, whatever that looks like for you within your family. And again, I'm guessing if you found yourself here, you're here for a reason. And my heart and my love goes out to you and your family and whoever you are who's living with chronic illness, because it is not easy. And I say that after doing this for 2 decades. I am not a doctor. I do not play one on TV. I have a history as I'm trained and my bachelor's was in psychology. My master's was in counseling psychology. I was a clinical director of an adolescent treatment family services program in a very large mental health system that goes throughout the state of Massachusetts, or the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, if you want to get technical. And I've worked in the juvenile justice system and taught psychology on both the college and the junior college level. Just as a little background. But that doesn't mean that I know what I'm talking about. So where I'm coming from, the reason I just gave you that little resume is because this is coming from my heart, and it's coming from my lived experience, and it's coming from the lived experience of my child, who is now older, but also had to go through all of this starting at age 5. And it was a rough ride. It was really hard because they had to overhear doctors talking in big, huge, scary terms. 50% chance of survival, seeing me placed on ventilators, watching me, have tubes coming in and out of me, getting infusions, you name it. You know it. You've been through it. You know what I'm talking about. And the one thing that we really agreed on was how the information was presented to them is what made the difference. If they heard, 50% chance of survival, yeah, mom's gonna die. It was horrifying for them. But if it was broken down into, well, there's, mom's going through something that's pretty hard right now, but we're all going to get through this together, and we're a team, and let's figure this out together. So for right now, climb into bed with me and let's read a book. So you can read to me, because if I didn't have the energy to read, or I couldn't see straight, I wasn't going to do it. But I also knew as well that I'm not going to make promises that I can't keep. So for us, it was important for them to climb in next to me and for us to share that warm moment together, that we still had that connectedness and we could do something that they loved, which was reading books. And so we would pick out books that, they loved, and we'd stack them next to the bed. And that's what we would do. We would read books. As they got a little older, they got into watching TV, and quite frankly, it was the cooking channel. And this is back in the day of, I'm dating myself here. I'm a little old. Shh, don't tell anyone. And I don't promote, obviously, anybody, nor do they sponsor me, clearly. But it was back in the day of like Rachel Ray and Sandra Lee, and my child would go and put on cooking shows for me. So I'd be laying in bed feeling like absolute crud, but it was the biggest joy of my life in that moment because they were having so much fun, and it was the sweetest thing in the world, and it completely warmed my heart, and it put a smile on my face, and it just reaffirmed why I was fighting, why everything was, so important to make it to the next moment, and that it was all about love. And the love that, I had not only for myself, but mostly for my family. And that I had to take care of me so I could get better to take care of my family. And that's what this is about. So when we talk about, or we hear doctors talk about, because sometimes you have to bring your child to a doctor's appointment. And what do you do then? Because in that doctor's appointment, there's going to be big language, there's going to be treatment plan, there's going to be next steps, there's going to be all of that. And how do you moderate the information coming in to that child's head, especially depending on the age group? So there's a couple things that I personally would recommend. Do what you want with them. I would absolutely love to hear your comments and your recommendations down below. And subscribe and like if you so feel called to. But I would love your recommendations as well, because again, chronic illness does not happen in a vacuum. We got to do this together. And the more we talk about it and the more we can share, the more people we can help. And the more kids we can help feel safe and comfortable and know that their loved one is going to be okay one way or the other, and that they are being heard. They, meaning the child, is being heard, seen, loved, and cared for. So, what I would recommend is going in with, something that is a diversion if they can't be outside of the room. If there's not, a nurse nearby who, or a CNA or somebody who you can just gently say, hey, for the next 3 or 4 minutes, can you just watch my kid outside the door? I really couldn't, not bring them because there's nobody to watch them. And more often than not, you will find a nurse or a CNA who is more than willing to help out. If you don't, I would ask, bring some books and some coloring books and just let them sit right outside the room. Or bring a headset and let them listen to whatever it is that you allow them to listen to in the room, and make sure that they're listening to it, that the volume is up enough without obviously killing their eardrums. But so they're not hearing the conversation. And that's where I would also ask that you ask the doctor, hey, can you keep your voice down so we can make sure that, so and so isn't Linda isn't able to hear us, because this is really big, scary information. And it's reminding your doctor to be a human if your doctor's not already a human to start with. And I say that with all due respect to doctors and all providers, because they've got a very, very hard job to do. And sometimes it gets really tough to remember, oh, hey, there's little ears, and I need to modulate what I'm saying because I need to get information across in a short amount of time, and I need to cover a certain amount of ground while, making sure that everything is heard and understood. And so that little reminder that there's another little kid out there listening can sometimes go a very long way. Most often, doctors are really great about this. At least that's been my experience. If that's not your experience, then you can always ask them. And if, however your relationship is with your doctor is your relationship with your doctor, and that's all. Those are all your choices. These are just things that I found were helpful for me. But again, I would love to hear your feedback, and what worked for you and what might work for others. So feel free to comment below and let me know. And I look forward to the next time we talk. Take care, and all my love and well wishes for continued healing.